So last time we did a bit of a sequence break and now we have the vertical dash. It'll come in handy later on. But we also have a rough map of the entire station, which will also come in handy. And that'll be useful if we try to search for teleporter locations and all that. Also, we travelled through the Sandrock sector to get to the underwater sector, and now you have this particular set of green blocks that we unlocked earlier using the hook shot. And already we're in a boss fight. And this particular guy's a jellyfish. Apparently they're capable of firing lasers. Not sure how that logic works, but hey, it's deadly. You can't exactly apply logic to something like this. I guess this thing is an endangered species, otherwise it wouldn't be here. Alas, it's now dead. We're nearly dead too, so guess we should heal up. Thankfully, we can barely outswim that jellyfish right there. So let's head on back to the save point before we continue on and see what else is back there. Of course, that particular fight could have been made slightly easier by an item that we grab later on, but hey, it's up to you whether or not you want to go after it at that point. So we'll just head on down and drop down to the very bottom of this area, and we have the propeller upgrade. Self-explanatory, we can now move. Use the arrow keys or the direction pad if you're on a controller, and you can just move around everywhere. You might want to note that the jump button does not map to the up key, so you might want to watch out in case you try and hit jump and you just do nothing. So that's done. See if we can't keep moving on. After all, there might be researchers at that location on the map. Then again, given that it's probably been a while since the incident occurred, I don't think there will be any survivors. Not that we know of, anyway. There's a bunch of hidden stuff on that side, but we can't get to it from here, so we just have to move on without it. As you can see, movement is much faster, and we can just dodge around all these jellyfish. They're little, but they will really hinder your movement if you get hit by them. Of course, this tube is blocked off by the green switches. Well, rather the green blocks that are affected by the switches. So I guess that means we're gonna have to go back to trigger them again. Well, we got the propeller upgrade and we can't do anything down there for the moment, so guess we better move on from that and just turn the switches off again. Rather toggle them, because there's only 2 states and some of them are on, some of them are off. Bet we have to go all the way back round. Okay, maybe not necessarily all the way back round, but we'll just move very quickly. And we go up here where the switch is. That computer just describes what it does. It's odd that the hookshot is required to actually influence these. Anyway, we can head on back, but first things first, we want to get up to the very top of this area, because there's another item to be found there. Of course, it does take a bit of combination of all our other moves to get up there, including the vertical dash. As you saw right then, vertical dash, into the hookshot, and into the double jump. You kind of have to chain everything together. Anyway, we have this kind of semi-pipe puzzle sort of thing. A sort of race puzzle. You have to get to the objective before the switch triggers and you lose access to that reward at the very end. This area looks kind of odd and kind of feels a little bit out of place since this is an underwater sector and there's really not much underwater stuff to be seen here. But then again, not everything has to be underwater. Anyway, we'll just trigger that switch and we'll run to the end, now that we've built ourselves a pathway. Of course, if you need to, you can reset the room by exiting and re-entering the room. Unlike previous health tanks, this one only gives us an increased maximum of 2, so now we're at a nice round number of 20 health. That's about it for that area, so let's jump on down and head on out. Just gonna go around and get back up to where the switch was locked off earlier, now that we've triggered it again. And we can save again! Why not? I mean, after all, there is a chance that we might die, lurking around each and every room that we stumble across. Back to the main chamber. Yeah, these yellow jellyfish don't do a lot of damage, but they move kind of erratically and quickly, so might want to watch out for that. Those ones at the top there are kind of dangerous. The large blue ones launch a ranged, partially homing attack, whereas the large pink one fires 4 shots that do a bit of damage. Yeah, we used the hook shot to bypass most of the puzzle's intended solution. And we're just gonna break away that tentacle before we move on. And we'll be triggering these switches a few more times to access the item in this room. Thankfully, the vertical dash lets us just do things like that to bypass most of the troubles. Anyway, we have the charge shot, which means we can now charge up our shots and have more range and more damage. I think it's about 5 times the amount of damage it normally does, but that's only based on the experiment that I did with the jellyfish just then. So yeah, let's head on back down, give ourselves a save, and head on to the next area. Just jump up. Looks like it's a one-way route, but we're nearing where the researchers are apparently at. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to fight this boss first. It's kind of got a resemblance to Serris from Mecha Fusion, I must say. But if you want me to give it an original name, call it, I don't know, large water snake? In any case, the strategy that I employ here is basically stay under the surface of the water, because when diving into water, the huge waves can cause damage. And gradually, the water level goes up and it goes into the second phase where it fills up with water. The propeller upgrade is pretty useful for this part, and you just hit the vulnerable red portion at the tail to deal damage. 3 charge shots and the process repeats. And as you can see, there's some water jets down on the bottom that kind of increase over time to push you out of the water. Anyway, this is the second stage of the boss, which is a bit more challenging, especially if you thought that you're only going to be facing one phase at any time. I think kind of useful, kind of nickname would be Mecha Serris. If only for its resemblance to actual Serris. So I guess our water snake was electronic? That's an interesting fact to know. You get a nice view of the planet, by the way. We're kind of low on health, but thankfully there's no fighting to be done here. The skulls and the log here seem to indicate that the people here did not really survive after all. The culprit appears to be a computer virus. That's an interesting story plot. And of course, someone seems to have decided that the log was... It was too good to be put into one part, so they decided to split it up and hide it far away. That is a very odd choice. You have half your log here and then half of your log somewhere else. Not exactly the most intuitive way of doing things. Oh well. Anyway, we'll just... Oh. I guess that's a simple drop-off location, just because we couldn't go anywhere else. So yeah. Let's get out of here. Now that we have the charge shot, we can break blue blocks. So we can break through and teleport wherever we wish. Including a save point if I so desired. We'll just jump. In a moment. There we go. Back to the cave complex. So, there is supposedly a second part, but we'll just check out with our new power-ups what's up here. We have large crawlers. Now, unlike the smaller crawlers that you see around here, these ones are basically immune to all your shots, so you're not going to be damaging any of these. They're also pretty large. They deal 4 damage. So yeah, they're pretty dangerous to deal with if you're not comfortable with dodging. This area looks like a bit of a cliff, but nothing that our hook shot can't handle. There also seems to be a corridor down here. Whoa, talk about funky design. Looks like we got the switches triggered correctly, and a lock has been released. What is this? Oh dear. We'll just head on out. And back to the cave complex, and we best move on from that. I don't think we'll be understanding the extent of what's going on just yet. This room is pretty large, and most navigation will have to be done with a combination of everything we have so far. Our charge shot is pretty useful for clearing out all the enemies. The added range is pretty nice to have as well. We just gotta use the hook shot right, then we can use a double jump and then the vertical boost. And the same can be done to bypass this massive side hopper, which is pretty useful. We just go over the top of it, and it looks like there's a way to get back up. Whoops. Well, we're not gonna make it now. We'll just save and move on from that, I guess. What to do? What to do? Think we can explore a couple of areas. We'll just pass by the area where we got our vertical dash, and we'll move on down. Just run a little test. Indeed, the vertical dash does not break through blocks horizontally. We'll just head on down here, because that item... We need that item. We need to collect items, and this thing has been bothering me for a while. Using the charge shot to reduce the length of the growth down here is helpful when trying to attempt this. Of course, you need to be pretty skilled at the hook shot and the double jump. So yeah, just got to get the length just right, otherwise you're just gonna fall down. And with that, we're through. And our reward is another 2 health tank, which brings our total up to 22. And that about does it. Join us next time as we search for items and investigate the jungle sector some more. Until then, take care.